before you get into the truck, you're going to pop the luggage door open. Check your fire extinguisher, tell the rating of it, fully charged, probably not secured. Refer to your red reflective triangles that they're present in the truck. You're going to talk about your fuses for electrical components that don't have circuit breakers. You get in the truck. First thing I do, you got to adjust your seatbelt for yourself. Make sure it's latched properly. You're going to talk about your mirrors. They're adjusted for you. Fender mirrors as well. They're not cracked, damaged, broken. They're properly mounted and secured. All right. And then from that point, we are going to do a safe start. It's at this point I'll put the key on. And that's when I have an opportunity to talk about my ABS light and my DEF light. They both came on and went off. If the ABS light stayed on, I'd have to get my tractor serviced. So we've got that out of the way right now. Now I can start the truck. Now I have an opportunity right now to talk about my air pressure gauges, right? And the governor should cut off between 120 and 140 PSI. So before I get distracted going through anything else, I'm just gonna let the examiner know I'm gonna wait right now and I'm gonna get it up so that I can actually hear the air governor cut off between 120 and 140 PSI. Because if I started doing other stuff right now, there's a good chance I might not hear that, and now I'm stuck in limbo. Forget about the chalk. I drive over those all the time. No, I don't. Shouldn't forget about the bridge. Off right now and add on what it takes to do the rest. I don't know. I would say, yeah. The whole pre-trip could be done between about 45 minutes, but realistically, it's about an hour. Be a lot. There's no time limit. So I heard the air compressor cut off between 120 and 140 psi. All right. So that's operating properly. So I banged that out, got my 3 point. Now. You can pick and choose however you want to do it. I work top down, left to right, and then back to front. And that way I just keep scanning for stuff and grab every point I can. So I'm going to talk about the windshield and the side windows, right? They're not cracked, damaged, or broken, properly mounted and secured. They're clean, keyword, clean, and there's no obstructions or illegal stickers on it. Coming down, nothing on my dash, no debris on my floor. The reason for that though, the debris on the floor is if you have empty bottles and stuff like that, they can start rolling under your brake pedal and have a problem, right? So anyway, so there's a reason for that. Now I'm gonna say that I got that. Now I'm gonna look at all my gauges. All my gauges are all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or broken. Now I'm gonna specifically talk about the individual gauges I have to. I'm gonna go left to right. My water temperature gauge. Not cracked, damaged, broken, probably mounted secured. It should rise between 2 to 5 seconds after a cold start. It has risen and it is operating properly. I'm going to go over to my oil pressure gauge. That should rise right from immediately from a start, and it is in proper operating range and it's operating properly. My fuel and DEF gauges. I got a full tank of fuel. I've got a full tank of DEF. Right? They are operating properly. I should not have less than 1/8 of a tank though of DEF. All right. Now I'm going to talk about my air gauges. I've already talked about them once. Why not talk about them again? My gauges, air pressure gauges, operating properly, both primary and secondary, and the governor cuts off between 120 and 140 psi, as you heard just a little minute ago, right? So to your point, I'm using my own terms, right? So anyway, what else here we got going on? So I think I've got everything on the dash. So now I'm going to hold on to this thing. I'm going to take everything I can out of this. I'm going to use my right turn signal, my left turn signal, my four-way flashers. They're working properly. What else does this thing do? I pull it back. Oh, my high beam indicator is operating properly. What else does this do? Windshield wipers. My windshield wipers are operating properly. Not cracked, damaged, broken, properly mounted, secured, and they have proper tension against the windows. Okay? What else does it do? Oh, cleans my windows. Got some liquid in there as well. Window cleaner. So that's all operating properly. Anything else on this? Nope, I think I've got it all. Before I let go of it, I just double check in my brain. Did I capture everything this thing can do? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on to this. Oh, I know I can press this button and I can toggle through the display to get my battery symbol and talk about my voltmeter. It should be, my voltmeter should be between 12 and 14 volts, which it is, and that's operating properly. What else is on the steering wheel? My city horn, my highway horn, they're operating properly. Holding the steering wheel itself, I can talk about it. I can't have more than 2 inches of free play on a 20-inch steering wheel. All right, so I've come back as far as I can. Did I get everything in this area right in front of me? I think so. I'm going to move on. I'm going to keep sweeping. My climate control, both my heat and my defrost, other way around. My defrost and my heat are operating properly. What else do I got? Anything? Am I missing anything? Okay, because I can still come back if I did miss something, right? So, I think I've got everything right now. So what I'm going to do, what are we going to do now?
Going to do your service, emergency, and tractor brake.
Bless you. All right, so we're going to, bless you again. All right, so we're going to do our brake checks. That's the last page, all right? 6 steps, first 3, truck on, okay? So what we're going to do, excuse me, we're going to check our tractor brakes. So to check our tractor brakes, we make sure they're set, but we're going to release the trailer brakes so that they're able to free roll, so that when we tug against it, put it in here and give it a little tug, that means our tractor brakes are holding this vehicle back, so they're operating properly. Now I want to do the same thing and check my trailer brakes. So my trailer brakes are set. I'm going to release my tractor brakes so that they're able to free roll, because if I ended up moving forward during this tug test, that would mean that my trailer brakes aren't operating properly. So now I've got those 2 out of the way, steps 1 and 2. Now what I want to do is, knowing that the brakes are operating properly, I now need to test to make sure that they're aligned and adjusted properly. So I would release my brakes, put it in drive, I would get up to 5 miles an hour and apply the brake as normal, keeping my hands light on the steering wheel, and stop, set your brakes again, and talk about it and go, my truck didn't pull to the left or right, it means my brakes are adjusted and are working properly. So those are the first 3 with the truck running. To do the last 3, it's all about air. And so in order to do the last 3, I need to make sure I have my full tanks full of air. So at this point, let us high idle it up to hear the air governor cut off once again. And that should come on between 120 and 140 psi. The air governor cut off between 120 and 140 psi, operating properly. I've got enough air in the tanks to do the rest of the tests. So at this point, I turn the truck off, take my key with me, I go outside, I chalk the wheels. Okay? When I come back into the truck, I'm going to put my seatbelt on again. I'm going to put the key in the ignition, and I'm only going to turn it onto the on position, okay? And I'm going to wait for my gauges to settle, okay? They are cycled. They cycled. At this point, release the brakes. And you can see the air gauges, they are settling right now. We're throwing air to the back of the brake, into the brake chambers. It's depleting air out of the tank. We need to have those stop in order to test for an air leak. And the air leak test is that we cannot lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute in a combination vehicle. So those gauges are settling right now. And they're settled. You can actually hear it. Can you hear the... So it's still releasing air. All right. So once they've settled, we're going to apply pressure on the brake, not tons, and we're going to make sure that they stop moving. They may settle again. All right. And once those gauges have stopped, you're going to set your timer and say that you're going to now do the test for an air leak, making sure you don't lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute in a combination vehicle, right? And I'm going to start the test now. And 1 minute later, you're going to release your foot off the brake, and you're going to talk about the results of the test you just did. I did not lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute. I have no air leaks. Everything's operating properly. Now, the next step that we have to do is to check that what if we did have an air leak, right? And what we're going to test now is pretend we have an air leak by fanning the brakes to get air out of the tank, to test to make sure that we get a warning that we do have an air leak, and that warning buzzer should come on at around 60 psi. So we pretend we got the air leak. We don't notice it leaking right now. The air gauge is dropping because we ripped our trailer hoses off. And that warning buzzer brings our attention right back to this to say, hey, you got an air leak. Get off the road. All right? So that is operating properly. My low air warning buzzer, my light, my LED display in this particular case came on at 60 psi. So that warning device is operating properly. Now we got to pretend we still have an air leak. So air is still now going down. We are now going to test to make sure our emergency brakes come on between 20 and 40 psi. Both of my emergency brakes, my tractor brakes, my trailer brakes, my emergency brakes, whatever you want to call it, right? My brakes popped out between 20 and 40 psi, and that is working properly. They are working properly. That's it.
And that would complete the